Just waiting for this to make sure it shows on YouTube. So we're doing this. Is it going? It's showing the restream, but I don't know if it's showing the live footage. Do you guys see the live going through there?
I don't. But then again, I don't. I see live as in 33 seconds. I see a timer on that's moving.
Okay, let me see. It should be going. It says as soon as it goes to display here, click the showcase stream. I see
It's
you.
Okay,
it's showing on
my
your.
friend says she sees
Okay,
us.
let me see. It should
Mhm.
be going.
Okay,
Okay,
there
yes.
you are. Now you're back echoing.
Showcase stream. Okay, we're then. Okay, we're good. It just takes a while for them to connect that up. Okay. Today I'm with a couple of friends of mine, and uh, Sandra and Jennifer. Actually, me and Jennifer are actually from the same area in Colorado. Sandra is in Virginia, right, or North Carolina?
Maryland, D.C., Virginia line.
Oh, okay. I was way off on that. So, we're going to go over about ascending to the 4D and information. Each one of these are a teacher, a spiritual teacher. They have information. I wanted to talk about the subject because it's a very important subject that people need to do on their own. And it's not about having gobs of money and putting the money into that. It's about ascending with Creator on your own. So just make sure that I would get a pen and pencil to write some of this information down. And I'm used to doing lives kind of by myself, just throwing in there. So Jennifer and Sandra will find out when I can't find something, I'll look for it and I'll just keep going. So they're used to that. So Jennifer, start with you first, and then give them some information and what you do and all of that.
Of course, right when I jump on. So, hey everybody, I am a spiritual business and life coach, and with Jenny today. But I feel like if we just like make it try not to make it something, when we can learn to focus within, listen to our own selves, our own guidance, and our own. I feel like it becomes easier. So, in a nutshell, that's it. I don't know if you can then pass it on to Sandra.
Yeah, I'll just pass it on to Sandra. Sandra will
Yeah,
give
just
her.
throw me the ball.
All right.
So I am Sandra McEllis, and basically, I guess I'm sort of an embodiment of the soul coach. And what does that mean, really? It's I help you embody your soul into this lifetime versus living off your egoic minds, getting into your heart, finding your soul's missions, their purposes, your paths. There's many different directions to go on through and with. And basically, when I'm working with people, it's really about working with where they are at the moment and finding things that some may consider a weakness and see if we can't find a gift with that and turn it into a power tool and to practice spiritual athletic tools on a daily basis and where you are in the moment, in the here and now. And most importantly, how do you keep it simple and keep it into your daily routine so it's not so out there and not achievable? So you're always feeling like you fail all day long. So keeping it simple.
Yes. Um, we can kind of go back, because it's changed the last 15 to 20 years, and religion has kept us focused not on the things we should be doing. This is the program way you're supposed to pay attention, and you have to go through somebody else to get to the light or God's light, and which has always been false. It's just to keep you contained and controlled. And now people are waking up and they understand that they can walk in this vessel of light on their own. But it's not easy for everybody to understand how that process happens and how they get into that energy. Because at first when you're going against a program that you've been presenting yourself in for years and years and years, like religion, and then trying something new, there's that fear process that religion always put in it. You know, you can't try this, you can't do this is wrong, this is demonic. And you just got to step away from that as a plated glass and put yourself in the situation of good energy and light energy. So it's about feeling good inside and working with that energy inside. And like I tell people, each person, their frequency is different from another person's frequency. And that's why I work with students individually, because I need to adjust to that understanding. And so I'm seeing it more and more now that people are asking more questions where before they were afraid to. And now they're opening themselves to these odd questions. And that's what I get all the time. They're like, well, this is going to sound weird. And I'm like, I don't think so. There's not much I haven't heard anymore that's off the wall anymore that's going to shock me. But the thing is, it's this energy on earth, it's changing in a good way. It's all around us. It's ascending all around us. And they want us to ascend all together at once, that are open to that as a collective of energy together. What do you think of that, Sandra?
Well, I think that we're at this space and time where we are yearning for more. And the programming that we have lived with, that our parents have lived with, and so on and so forth, has been very isolating from what the real world has to offer, what our God space has to offer. And, you know, there was a time there where our lineages were not able to answer or ask questions or be able to receive information that could expand on their yearning hearts to want to learn, right?
Right.
So when we have this, brick and mortar religion, and we already know that so much of the mystical healings and teachings have been very hidden or only for the privileged few, we're now being exposed to so much more of that. So we're in a space now where we're not going to be persecuted for asking questions. You know, when I used to instruct classes, people would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm full of stupid questions." And I would say, the only thing stupid here is not asking the question, right? If you want to
Right.
stay in what you want to call the word stupid, is not wanting to expand and excel on information. And we're really here to just sort of go down different paths of informational highways and figure out what's working with us and have the ability to adapt and tweak, turn left, turn right, make a U-turn, whatever it is, and experience everything that's out there to offer, and then figure out how it works for you today.
Correct. What do you think, Jennifer?
I mean, this topic, especially when we start talking about church, well, how does that work, right? And Ascension, what I was saying before, I got my microphone, so hopefully the sound is coming. That my sound was cutting
It's just
in
cutting
and
out a
out.
little.
So is it still?
Yeah.
Let me try to reconnect with a different source.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, me and Sandra will talk about some more stuff while you're
No
trying to
pressure,
connect.
Jennifer.
Yeah,
Do
it's
what you
just
got to
part of
do.
getting used to
Let
things.
it go.
Trust
Yeah.
me, some of the shows have been 40 minutes late, and yeah, and that's just it's just the way it is.
It's just the hiccups that happen when we're live.
Yeah. Are you there? Is she there?
She's here. She's just going to tune
Is
in.
that better?
So just,
Yeah,
I think
that's
it might
better.
be.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
So while you have your mic open, go
Okay.
ahead and just answer that.
Okay, so especially being a Christian and psychic. So I was raised in the church. I love everything about church. I still use the Bible every day. But intuitive, and I've learned so much about kept everybody stuck and small. So it's really important that we really to open more mind to the truth of sexuality really is, and not in such. There's so many things happening, and the Ascension is awakening us to galaxies, to other dimensions, right? And as we move up in the step in the rung of understanding, raising higher. Through, I'm seeing Jenny looks confused.
Now she's reading the thing. Just go ahead.
Okay, good. Is it messing up again? Anyways, so higher learning or higher understanding or more understanding, that's all part of the Ascension process. Bringing that spirituality into our personal life, right? Like our personal, the way we experience. And so yeah, Ascension can be so misunderstood just because I think that it really needs to be, because the more only for ourselves, the more it benefits all attuned together. And are like a band, right? Like if somebody's on, the other one's hold the tune, and then that other person can tune, right? Because then they can match the vibration. This whole beautiful dance that we're doing as humans together, which is why so many people are now opening up to, because everybody around them has opened up to that.
Hey, I'm not hearing Jenny now.
Either.
Did you mute?
I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
I see your mouth moving.
Yeah.
Maybe she's
Usually
mumbling.
when someone else is talking, I mute. So there's a mute button
I
on
do
the
too,
side.
yeah.
So, and you've written what, 3 books on, spiritual teaching and everything too. So, I mean, we'll put your website up and all on that stuff too. And the whole thing is these really good teachers are, spirits like, get them to ascend. This is what's the most important thing right now. They got to be ascending. And like months ago, spirits like, you feel that rock in your soul, and they're like, there's got to be a time that you have to go completely out, and you're not going to come back in. And I was like, so you're expressing and showing me this kind of a jerk between the soul and the flesh body. Because I've been telling people over and over, we are not taking our bone, blood, and flesh with us to 4D. It's not happening. It's not going into that concept. And when we pick a new vessel, it won't function the same way. It'll be a better vessel, but and that's hard for people to understand, not having that type of a 3D body. It's just hard concept to get past. But I mean, there's a lot of benefits with this situation. Food is one of the biggest things. I can't wait for that to be just completely gone. I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't have to process through the body anymore. I mean, those instant things that we have to have on a daily basis, and people are starting to feel like, I'm starting to feel like I'm not as hungry as I used to. It doesn't have the desire of food anymore. And so I just do it because I have to, not because I desire it anymore. So these flesh needs that our soul and our body needs is like, I don't want it anymore. So we're growing out of that vessel. We're growing out of needing things in a very addictive way. We don't need it anymore. And we're looking for something higher of understanding to pull that, and that's energy, that we want that type of addiction, that type of balance. What do you think of that, Sandra?
Well, I mean, we can talk about the 3D, the 4D, the 5D, and, I think in the last 2 or 3 years, it's always been 3D or 5D, and everyone's bypassed the 4D. And I've always said, you got to get into 4D, okay? This isn't hopping and skipping and jumping in the way that many have proclaimed it's going to be. But at this moment in time, we are in a 3D world, and we will have a foot hold in both worlds. We will be learning to bridge both worlds because it isn't happening tomorrow that we'll be out of these meat suits. But we are gradually having a lot of the what I want to call Ascension teasers, where we have no desire for certain foods, or we're feeling more daydreamy, or more tiredness, and all these different things. But it leads most people to want to seek information outside of themselves when all the information is inside yourself. And the more you're going outside yourself to gather all this information, the less you're experiencing the journey between 3D and 4D. And I think that's where we're getting a lot of bypassing and a little bit too much information. I mean, our brains are already a swamp, and we're not taking the time to do our shadow work and drain the swamp, because our subconscious holds everything. And there's a lot of power and a lot of treasures in the subconscious. But it takes our conscious mind to open the subconscious, to clean out the closets, find those treasures, and broaden the consciousness so that you can be fully present as you're moving along in what people want to call, the ascension into another dimension. No matter what you want to call it, just know that you've got every foothold that you work towards is going to get you there, and stay out of this freaking freak out mode stuff.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I'm expressing to people, when you see things deteriorating or dismantling in every way, it's part of the process that has to happen. For some good light to adjust itself to stand strong in the 4D, everything in the 3D has to dismantle, and not going into a concept of fear. Like, it's gone. Okay, good. Let's get on to the next thing and let the next thing fall. That's good too. Because at the end of this, the thing that matters is a collective of energy together, ascending together and being as one together and going into a higher understanding. It doesn't matter about your physical items or the money, because money's going to be not a problem in the future either. So it's the concept of 3D has got a hold in a different way. And you start to realize all the programming that was just weeded into you, and how it's hard to break from that and just stretch it away. And you really have to step away from everything and look outside the box and stay in a safe place and observe it. When you come back in from observing it, your clarity is so much better, and your attachment to the negative is not there at all.
Yeah,
So-
and that doesn't mean releasing the egoic mind and going into love and light, because that's not how it is either. Not having that division and split instantly either. You're finding harmony between all of them is what
Right.
you're doing. So we've taken, most of our programming has been work from the egoic mind, work from the mental mind. Secondary is work from the heart center. And we're being taught we need to flip that, work from the heart center, and then learn how to coexist with the mind.
What do you think, Jennifer?
Well, I mean, I agree. We're still in these human vessels right now. How
Right.
can we calm our own nervous system? Breathe through the energy and the frequencies that we're feeling. Today's the 12 portal, and the energy was like zapping and buzzing and things like that. In this moment, we still feel that. Right. Tune with how can you regulate your own nervous system? How can you practice self-soothing so that your physical body can still do in this reality that we're in right now, without when we do, ascend all the way into that anymore.
Okay. So let's just say for a new person that's just walking in barely, just trying to figure this out, is barely walking out of the programming. Sandra, what would you say to that person to get them down to the right journey and down to getting the right answers for the first person that's just walking into this and saying, okay, I'm gonna be a part of this new program and I'm gonna do the work on my own?
Well, I think the first thing that we have to be able to admit to ourselves is things are not as they appear to be. And things up to now, maybe in your life, are not working in the way that you originally thought that it would. And so we have to stop, drop, sit, connect with that breath, and then go from there. Now, there are those who are just awakening to realizing just what's going on in the explosion of YouTube and all the information out there, what's happening in our banking systems, what's happening in our other constructs that guide and lead our country. They're not working, right? It's obvious it's not working. And we will see more and more of that crumble. So the beginner people, I think, really just coming to that awakening point of understanding that what is around you and what has been programmed in you, there's something just not right with it. And then how do you move forward from there?
Well, I think the biggest fear is family. That is the most people that are so afraid of, because that family influence is stronger than anything right around you. I mean, most people that I know, it's them by themselves, and the whole family's intimidating them and forcing them to, go with the program. And they get so upset, so annoyed with doing something that they feel that they should just follow along. And it really presents a really negative process every time they see them, because they're just like, you have to conform, you have to conform. And it's just like, no, you stand on your own. And now that things have changed from a year and a half ago, there's people, I mean, they're not talking about it anymore, but they're not telling their loved ones, hey, you were right by not getting things done at the time that the government was forcing us to do stuff. And they don't want to be wrong, but they are wrong. And are they going to admit that? No. They're going to just tell you not to talk about it. Nope, bring the subject up. Because it's just that mindset that's in the mind. So that's why when I teach, I like to go completely dark and blindfold them, because this reality, that reality, is just staying in an energy that you can tap into and perceive information and not come with this big judgment. You're just waiting for things to present that unfold. So, and so you have the masses of confusing people more because they really don't want them to ascend. And that's, that type of programming is really being pushed more too. So the more that we can get in the light, the better. The more that is thinking on their own and processing on their own and doing their own work, the better.
Yeah, I'd like to add something on that. So when we're working really more from the heart center, it's a lot of that is an unexplained knowingness, right? And when we have that conviction of making a decision, we have to learn that other people's opinions and judgments don't need to affect that. And one of the first places you're going to learn that lesson is through the family dynamics, and then through your close friendship dynamics. And you can be like, okay, hey, well, you might not agree with it, but that's okay. I'm not giving you my permission slip to accept your judgment and your opinions. You're welcome to have them, just as I am mine, and make no comment about it, because this isn't about solicitation. This isn't about converting each other. One of the biggest lessons to learn is that you're freaking going solo, folks. You got to hold on to your soloness and know that your inner software system's got everything you need to soar, to land, to swim through all of it. And if you keep handing out your permission slips to everybody else, you're going to be going in circles and circles and circles, chasing your tail, not getting anywhere. So you have to make that strong decision of, hey, this is how I feel. And it doesn't matter if someone agrees with me or not, even if they're my spouse or my mother, my father, or my siblings. It doesn't matter. They can think what they want to think. And I can choose whether I'll allow myself to even let them express that. But you don't need to put yourself in situations where you're constantly having to put out the reasons why you do what you do, because then you get in defensive and resistance mode.
Yeah, and go ahead,
Can I
Jennifer.
jump?
Yeah.
So I think this is all we're on here, and probably most of the people watching are go within, right? We know that we have good boundaries and all of those things, especially if we're talking in the idea of it's really important to have community that back you up and let you know, because we haven't been taught how to intuition. And this is where teachers and leaders come in handy, because it's somebody else that can tune into our own intuition. And I think it gets skipped a little bit because a lot of it in that work. And like right now, we're talking mastered that part of it, right? Which is really that can hold space and energy or not, but also awakening. It's that learning before you can speak out to your family, right? Like to be able to take those steps and process, because when you're breaking free from that old paradigm, everybody says, and the paradigms that we've always done it this, and this isn't safe, and this isn't something your religion and all of those things can break free of that internally, but also at the same time, it's really that understands what you're going through, and so that you know that you're in.
So, I think that defiance, because I started getting it at a very young age of knowing that their assumption of their reality, of their program was right. And right has when you're right about something, there's a flow of energy, a truth, energy that flows with you. And when you know something's wrong, it's just poles and it's negative and it feels like you're forcing something and you're adding to it. And with the truth, there's a purity with it. And when you know something's wrong, there's just a knowing. And it's just literally like the churches, they didn't want you to process, think. They wanted you to be ridiculed, wanted you to be feeling shame, wanted you to feel like you're always doing it the wrong way. That is the thing about the religion side of waking up. There was never a clear path. There was always ridiculism. You're doing it wrong. You can never do it right. It's a door that you could never win. And so to me, that's a program. Pushing an illusion that they want you to accept, just like I don't believe in Noah's Ark across the board. I think that's a story that's full of it, and I have been forever. So there's a lot of stories out of the Bible that there's no way, but we don't voice that. We think inside, and it's literally with the awakening is using the voice and bringing it up, out through you, and not suppressing it. That's what you're seeing when they're around family members. They suppress it and they put it down. So I always tell people, I just speak my truth. I say it in the tone that I mean it, and then I leave. You represent that. And then you have those ones that can't do that yet. And they're trying, and they're fighting every day. But, like UFOs, people thought, God, that's never going to be right. But what's really not right is to think that we would be the only beings in this universe. That's how well that program worked for so long. And now we're in a stage that we see this stuff happening, this activity of UFOs on a daily basis, and the conscience is changing of accepting it. And the church is losing their battleground and their control, and people are doing their own thing. And you're seeing it actually on TikTok. And it's one of those, you look at these younger generation, they're making their own choices. They are making their own choices, but you do have the religions ones that come in and try to dictate and try to put you down on finding their way through it. But then you just push them aside and you keep going. So it's changing. It's completely changing.
Well,
So-
it's unrealistic for anyone to think that in the universe with all these planets, we're the only one that has a species on it. And I remember when the rockets were going up to the moon and someone had said, I think they're looking for water and air or another habitat in case something happens to this Earth. And I remember thinking, well, they'll probably find something up there, but it is unrealistic to think that we are the only species on any planet. And that is what a lot of the programming would like for you to think. And a lot of the movies would like for you to think that anyone from another planet is an evil invader, and they're not all evil invaders at all. Because then how could you take the religious part and believe in angels and so on and so forth? Because they're all the same type of species. They're all light beings.
Right. And even with the word Jesus is actually Yeshua, because it didn't make any sense. And the biggest thing that people get mad about with me when they show me Jesus and he's a white guy, and I'm like, he was never white, ever. No way. Come on. Let's wake up here. And they get really mad and defensive. I'm like, sorry, that's not true. And then taking certain verses out of the Bible, and the book of Thomas, and you should be reading the book of Enoch, because those teach independence, thinking, preserving, staying with the Creator and your energy. It was all about dominance and control. And now we're like, no, just us, just him, just the vessel, just that information. We're done. And I like that I'm seeing that more and more every day from people. They're stepping up, and it's like a voice they haven't had in a long time, and it's suppressed so far down. And then when they finally use that, you are not going to suppress them again. You can tell that they are coming out of it in every way. So I just think where they're telling us now, there's just like, get them as many to ascend, as many as we can get them up here, because we're going to be as a collective here now, a collective of energy. It's not a one person thing. It's not an idle thing. It's past this. We're a collective together, and it's going to change. I don't know what happened. We'll keep going.
She's just trying to tune in. Just keep going.
Yeah. Okay, Sandra, you can go ahead and.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking of the interconnectedness and us all being one. And we could talk the religious thing till we're all blue in the face.
I know.
I got my messages as a very young child being raised in a religious environment, and I would get direct messages. I'd never said that. That wasn't written right. And if you know anything about the history, we already know that so many Bibles have been, reinterpreted and it's for the control of the masses. And God forbid if there was anything above the church that may have a presence known. I mean, how would the church then collect money? But that's another
Right.
topic, right? So
Right.
I mean, I love people that believe in their stuff and read their whatever it is that they're reading, and it helps them be a good person and find love in their heart and compassion and random acts of kindness and intentional acts of kindness. That is beautiful. Whatever gets you through your day, right? But when we're talking about ascension and we're talking about this new energies that are here, we've got to wake up to the old programming that doesn't serve any longer and open up to the possibilities of life beyond just our human existence, life beyond what we've been taught at this point in time. We could get into all the deceitful things behind the three-letter agencies. We could get into everything's been stolen from us, but that's really a different angle to go at. I like to go at is like, okay, it is what it is. Now, what do we do here in the moment? How do I find the information for me in the moment? How do I tap into my heart and allow every part of my breath and my cells to expand and to feed me information so that I'm just lighter in my own physicality? I'm not in my monkey mental mind giving it so much space in my brain, which affects every part of your physical and emotional body. How can I get in here and just be in lightness of other possibilities and then make it a learning experience? Make it like I'm just learning something new, and how does this work? And you're figuring things out from a different angle instead of like, oh, woe's me and this is happening, because that again is old programming.
It is. Jennifer?
I think I'm back. um, yeah, so I agree with you before it dropped me out. Everybody's done what they could up, and this is all divinely inspired. The awakening time that's happening is now. So yes, now they're no longer the paradigm, but if we continue to be in victim of what happened, what we're doing, and what the ascension is even about, so backwards. So instead of getting so wrapped up in what everybody else has taught, or again, come back to our personal responsibility in ourself and our own soul journey, and then what are the things that we want to do? What are we being called to look at within ourselves? Like, that's where the ascension becomes more personal. Everything in the past and the religions, thing, like, there's so much truth woven. It's not the message. Okay, you hear me? So I might just go ahead. Hear me, or is it bad?
It's okay. Just keep going.
Okay, I'm like, because I'm hearing that people can't. There's truth intertwined, right, into it, but you've got to find for yourself. So I'll go ahead.
So, so the thing is, where do you start from here? And the one key point is what the churches has feared, what government has feared, is the energy that is already resided in you as you were born with Creator. And so it's not looking at it from an outer view, it's going inside. And that's what you call your instinct, your intuition. But being honest with your instinct and your intuition, not suppressing it. Not suppressing it at all. And once you start doing that, you start to see consistency of a balance coming in, consistency of energy coming in, consistency of you being right about things. Because you're working with that force. That's the whole thing. And they push that idolizing in front of you you have to listen to this one person and then have all the answers. And that's not about that. It's literally calming the mind down enough that your whole vessel says, it's time. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to go forward. So, and that's why all of you guys teach classes. And, the thing that I do is I block everybody. I'm like, there's no choice. There's darkness and light. And you're going to either pull from one or the other. And that's where we're going to take it from. And I try to get people to actually reprogram, forget what you've learned in other classes, because we have to start with what is guiding behind you, what that light is doing for you now that you're ignoring. And that's where we start from. Sandra?
Well, I mean, I feel like we've all had blinders on, and we haven't really expanded on our peripheral sensories. And taking the steps forward in becoming more awakened through the ascension process requires you to take off the blinders. Now, blindfolding is wonderful because it takes a physical sensory out of it. So now your heightened sensory becomes your ears, your feeling, your breath, your heartbeat. All of these other things become heightened, and you learn to tune in and start using them, because our eyes show us where we are in the world. And in our brain, our vestibular eyes show us where we are in the world, where we're balanced. And if anyone's had an ear infection, then you know how you could become off balance, right? So it's really finding our equilibrium within all of our sensory systems and slowing our roll a little bit and tuning in to some of the gifts of see, sight, sense, smell that we have, and then expanding that out into our spiritual gifts, which is the intuition. And the intuition is just the higher wisdom of the God spark within you, period. And the more you focus in on the intuition and start really playing with it and skilling it and learning how to master it, you're not going to be able to play out here in this arena. But when you learn to honestly step into it, you will make no decision. You will go nowhere without completely in consultation with this higher, wiser part of you. And I think that's one of the biggest steps people need to step into first.
Right. And it's funny because and it's clear that kids, as you're young, you're not at that stage of adapting to all that programming. And young kids are very raw of saying what they're feeling. And that instinct is very clear at that young age. And then we get it suppressed because start reinstate and push our mind back. For me, that never happened because I was told from the beginning, it doesn't matter what they say, keep going. And me defying that all the way caused an uproar through everything that I did. And still to this day, I have people go, you are the most stubborn person I've ever met. When you make a decision, you just will not let go. No, because then it won't stay true to myself, and I like to see things finished. I like to see it work out the way that they're showing me. We want to see the end result. We don't want to just say things. We want to see the end result of why you're following that process or that person and see it come true. We're completely over selling us something. We're into knowledge and knowing. And that's where people are going to watch and they're going to witness and they're going to pay attention to everything. Because these illusions that you're seeing in 3D and thinking what you're seeing on a screen is your reality from the day that they started telling you that you would be contained and controlled. It has not happened. Because you made your own free choice to say no. I defy it. I say no. And I say hell no. And those ones are standing more stronger in their strength today than they ever were. They were never going to be contained and put in a box and told what to do. Never. And then from here out, they're going to be stronger. In each process that happens, they're going to stand out stronger. And there's many that are growing and developing and getting on that. And that's why this ascension of all together as one is important. You know? So occupying your time of buying products, and just even for Christmas, I really don't care. Because I know it's not the true story anymore. You know, we're in a process that we have to push everything back and know that that's a consumer situation again that we're getting sucked into every year. And you have to look back and go, only what needs to be given, and not overly indulged. So those are programs.
It's really interesting. It's coming in. I saw somebody, I think, telepathically, and I actually felt it. But I think that's also part of is because we're ascending, we are becoming empathic, and so we are people and thoughts from other people, and that's another layer with our own space and our own body and the way internally, so that we know what's ours and what's not, what thoughts are ours and what's not. And it's the same if you believe we have to do that. It's because we've been, whether that's buying Christmas presents, or that's why we think we're not good enough, or all of these beliefs that so we've also now got this other higher frequency of action in different ways that we haven't experienced before as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
And that's something that Spirit was saying, 2-3 weeks ago. They're like, Jen, the ones that have been seated on this planet, that we gave all the information before they were here, they're not doing what they're doing. They got distracted themselves. And you need to tell them to get back to their work, get back to focusing what they're supposed to be doing. Because each one of them is an important part and put in a certain area on purpose to get them going. Everybody's holding the line, and it's not about, money, whether they're going to send or not. It's about developing, and that's the process right now. And when you guys actually see at the end of this, how much will ascend, how much will go, this is the thing that I tell people, this is what's going to bring you to your knees and make you humble and see in that process. Your ancestors are not going to witness this. You're in the time and era, something incredible is happening, and you're deciding to be a part of that and accept the creation of it. And I can't imagine being in the dark and putting my head in the sand at this time. It blows my mind. It really does.
You can't wake up and then ignore. A lot of people don't want to wake up because then it's going to mean I've got to take action, because it's difficult to unsee and unhear some of the things that you will experience through your awakening. And it means you have to take action. And it's not a cakewalk. It is a daily discipline, intention that you take every day to wake up and say, I am my commander of my ship today. And for those who are waking up now that want to find out what it is they're supposed to be doing, I would say get the frick out of your monkey mind and stop wondering, what am I supposed to do? I don't know. You're giving this so much attention instead of simply going within and saying, I will be shown what it is I need to do. I am going to work with my breath. I'm going to keep a smile on my face today. My vibration's up. I'm going to hold the door. I'm going to work on my peripheral energy so I can sense what's going on around me. Is someone needing maybe a hug or a smile or a door held for them? Little tiny things like that that seem so ridiculous hold huge frequencies in helping you to elevate and open up more frequencies of that kind.
Correct. Good. So today is talking about this, going over the development of it and letting people know that you can reach out to people and they can ask a few questions. They can lead you in a narrative that would work for you. But the whole thing about it, putting things as a group process, each person's at a different understanding. And when you can adjust and adapt that understanding that feels, okay, this feels normal to me, this feels like I'm getting somewhere, because the biggest thing that I see on the spiritual community, you get a person to a certain level and they're frustrated. They're like, I'm just doing circles now and no one's showing me what I'm supposed to do after all this work I've already done. They get frustrated. You're seeing a lot of that. And so it's a little of being humble. It's a little of being sympathetic, of just helping them just a little bit, of not isolating yourself completely from the public, but just having that door open that you can answer questions and just help them just a little. So, Sandra.
Well, I'm all about self-empowerment. So when we have to keep reaching outside of ourselves for someone to take us to the next level, then you're not getting on the levels that you need to be on to begin with. Because once you open yourself up to it, then all of a sudden there'll be a buffet of different mentors, teachers, and so on. And remember, we're always the student, even when we're teaching, we're always the student. So if we can just open up with that and trust that you're enough, that you're following your intuition, you're in that God spark, you're choosing to expand, right? It will bring things to you. And we're at the point in time right now where we're finding more tribal groups, small and larger, that there can be conversations that help uplift you, right? But we all have to dig into our constitution, because many people just don't want to change. They don't want to take that step. And that's your choice. It's your choice. If you choose to come here with a big agenda and choose not to grow, that's your choice. That's not anyone else's job to pull you out of that rut and to teach you to wake up, right? You'll wake up when you're viscerally ready to wake up. That's, as you know, I'm kind of no nonsense. So I think I'm
Right.
probably even more curt than you are, Jenny.
I'm addressing, because when you're having a partner that's in the 3D and they will not wake up, and you're in the 4D and you're like, what do I do? I'm like, well, you can't wait for them. You got to keep going. So that's that program again that's having a hard time. People are feeling divided. So I'm actually going to do a session on YouTube on that, because they're like, I'm having problems in this area big time. I'm looking for guidance in there. So that's happening too. So it's
Contracts are up. Contracts are
Yeah.
up. They're up, and they've been up for a long time. And people are trying to make old relationships work. And you're not going to be able to go to the next level of what it is that your soul and your spirit are here to experience if you keep staying in relationships that do not serve. They don't serve the person that's stuck, and they don't serve the person that's staying stuck with it. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
There's a whole new level of personal responsibility that I talk about all the time, is radical. Stop being a victim of it's a soul contract I'm supposed to do right now. Make the choice in this lifetime. So let's now for yourself.
Right.
Yeah, and I know that both of you are going to say right now it's not easy. There's days where I will literally be, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and that. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not. Okay, I guess I'm going to take a nap. Or I guess I'm going to sit still. Oh, all right. Well, oh, well, it's just like you just have to go more with the flow of the day and learn your adaptability skills because that's your survival skills for what's coming, friends. And if you don't learn to give up that control and trust that you can learn how to pivot and navigate through adaptability, it's going to be a little tougher for you. And that again is an old program that you can't make a lot of lefts and rights in order to get to where you need to go because there's half circles, there's 360s, there's all different ways to get there. Just don't be so hard on yourself every day.
Yeah, and I think more people need to talk about this. More people need to uh, step in and fill in the discussion of those areas that people are confused by. Because I think sometimes people think, are we just getting sucked into another program because that's what's happened in the past? And this time, well, it's a little different. You're being told what needs to be done, and then this is something you can go inside and get verification on your own. Where before it wasn't that way. This is a totally different aspect of feeling it and knowing what is right and what is wrong. What is a yes question and what is a no question through spiritual energy. So, and then meditation's in, they always say meditation's constipation because they don't like the word because it feels like it's stagnated. So, it's moving energy in a frequency pattern that they like more than the other word.
Yeah, and if you can meditate and relax, you won't be as constipated, friends. Just saying.
Yeah, it's just
You want to get
it's a
all gummed up and get your pipes stuck. Don't relax. Don't meditate. That
yeah.
doesn't feel so good either. Sorry.
Well, I've tried the normal meditation. And it just feels so stuck here, and it takes forever. And that's the thing. I'm a person that wants to go up instantly, quick, and bypass everything and get it done quicker. We don't want to sit in stagnated energy forever, and we shouldn't have to if we're ascending and working on that. So, and the more you do it, like I would say, singing bowls, woo, always singing bowls, moji, yes, moji, because those are going to help you get to the place that you need to be. So, do you guys have any last minute questions? So we're going to close this up to this subject for today.
One thing I wanted to add, Jenny, too, is give themselves some grace because we literally, as humans on this planet, we've never the ascension that we're in right now, the shift from 3D to 4D, we've never experienced it before on this planet, but a grace as we go through.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I would say take every day as a new day to restart your day, to restart what's important to you that day. And to your thought about meditation, I've never been a traditional meditator, even back in the 80s and 90s. And growing up as a child, my meditation was sitting on a rocking chair by myself in a room and just getting into the space of just peace and feeling, just really feeling and just tuning into those things. Make it work for you in your day, whether you've got 1 minute to just quiet the mind and connect with your breath and command your body to help give you some answers, ask questions and dialogue with yourself and attach yourself to that higher part of the wisdom and follow that intuitive knowingness that you can't explain with words. And we're getting out of the wordsmith stuff. And I like, Jen, for that, what you were saying about when someone commented on the telepathic. That's all part of the peripheral energies that we're here to learn. We're here to see, sense, and feel outside of just being told and then having to process that through our mental mind and then physically doing something. We're going to learn to communicate with all of our sensories. And that is superpowers. And it starts with just simple tools and working on them so that they become empowering to you.
Correct. So I hope we can do this later. We'll pick some other heavier subjects and stuff that'll come down, but it was just something I thought that we needed to talk about, and it needs to be out there currently. And I'm going to say it here because everybody's asking the question, is me and Perez are doing a show on Saturday, and it is about the Golden City. I'm trying to get all these drawings done, and it's cramp time. The details are insane. So I'm trying to get that all done before we do the show. That's Saturday at 12 o'clock Central Time. And then with Sandra and Jennifer, we'll pick some other subjects that we're going to go over and talk about, because we do want to deliver the messages to you guys so you can act on your own and develop it on your own. So this is good night. Have a good afternoon. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.